Welcome up for today's episode of Power Your Profit podcast. We're bringing you a trailblazer who's written the rules of success. Dave Rolfe, with over 1 billion in sales and a network of 30,000 distributors. Dave is a living legend in the network marketing world. As a no BS mentor, author, and one of the top leaders in the industry, he's empowered thousands to building thriving businesses, unlock their full potential. If you're ready to uncover strategies and leadership, and an unstoppable mindset to fuel the future and that creates lasting success, this episode becomes your blueprint. Let's dive in and learn from the best of the best. Please welcome my guest, Dave.
Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carter hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Thank you for being here.
Nice to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Let me just give you a little overview of who we have that will be listening.
Okay.
We've got all kinds of entrepreneurs, anywhere from startup to $10 million.
Yeah.
80% of the audience are women, 20% are men, and it's usually our women that drag their men to say, listen to this lady. They're in the place of growing, leading, selling, right? Building it to sell. My commitment was to bring on delicious people who could just share the real shit in business, not just on our mountaintop, but the hardship that it is, right? And not quitting. I was stalking you before, the show, just to kind of get a sense of your flavor and feel. And I like your candor. I like your honesty. And I'm excited to interview you today. You're a little badass there, Dave. When was the last time someone called you a badass?
Oh, well, I've been a few times in my career, and other names as well. I've had a very interesting experience in life, so I have lots of great stories. So the question I have is, what aspect of me do you want me to talk about for your audience?
Well, I've got a bunch of questions
Okay.
that I curated. So I think based on your interview style, it's just what you do. So I don't think you'll have a problem with it.
No problem.
And then we'll just riff, right? So
Yep.
I've got questions, and then if another question comes up, if I'm looking down, I'm taking notes. If I'm looking here, I'm looking at your website or something to speak to. I'm not checking email, just so you know, because I've got a command center right here.
Yeah. Awesome.
We did your intro, so we're going to pick up from your intro.
Okay.
And then we go about 20 minutes, short and sweet and powerful.
Yeah.
And so nothing's off the table. Whatever you want to talk about, you talk about it. Just go where your heart leads you.
Sure.
And I'm excited that you're here. Thank you for spending your morning with me.
No, I'm excited. Awesome. Now it's doctor, is it? You're what kind of a doctor?
I got my PhD in business.
Oh, okay, great. Fantastic.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh my gosh, Dave, I am so excited to talk to you because first of all, let's just say it's $1 billion in sales and 30,000 distributors. My hat is off to you. Like managing the people. Oh my gosh, your network marketing has been extraordinary. I don't think I've met anyone that's done over $1 billion in sales, right? In that genre. It's such a high turnover. Yeah. What drew you to the industry, and why do you think you've had such massive success?
Well, the journey took time, and there's a couple of key lessons that I ran across by accident that caused it. But it started very interestingly with back in the 70s when I first got involved with this industry. I was looking through tabloid magazines in the opportunity section to find a way to make my life. I really didn't like working for somebody else for some reason. I had this.
I don't either, Dave. Nobody can be the boss of me. Just ask my husband.
Yeah, exactly. So I ran into this company. I lived in Canada. I ran into this company in California, and they were producing a natural health food bar, kind of like a candy bar, but natural, no sugar kind of thing. And so this was impressive because the health food industry was just getting underway. And so I imported the stuff from California, brought it up to Canada, and I walked around from store to store and introduced them, sold it to the stores, etc. Now, that was my very first experience at distribution. And that was led by the concept and the idea of watching other people who had success and how they got their success. And most of it came from people who owned their own business. So
Yeah.
the idea of owning my own business started very early. This was my first attempt. And I'm in a store and I'm talking to this lady behind the counter and I'm saying, I represent this product. Maybe you'd like to put it on your counter, make some extra cash and whatever my spiel was back then. And out behind these beaded curtains came this guy and he said, "Wow, that was the best presentation I've ever heard." And I'm like totally flattered. I mean, this is great.
Right.
And then I'm thinking to myself, "Ooh, I must be doing something right." And then he says, "Is that the only product you represent?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, how would you like to represent hundreds of products?" Well, because of prior experience, I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, let's set up a meeting and, et cetera, et cetera." So a couple of weeks or a week later, I'm at this meeting. I'm the only guy in the audience. And the gentleman says to me, "Dave, how would you like to own a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street? And every time somebody bought a Coke, you made a nickel?" Well, I
Cha-ching.
sat back in my chair and I went, "Whoa, whoa, this is all I could see were piles of nickels."
Right.
And so that just got me going. And so then it was Amway. That was
Yeah.
what I was introduced to. And I tried it and failed miserably. As a matter of fact, I tried 12 different companies in the time up till the 90s and couldn't figure out how to make it work. So the first lesson that I really learned in the 90s when I started my success was, how does the darn thing work?
Right.
What makes it work? What are the nuances and what are the activities and et cetera, et cetera. And I'll give you an example of how I mean by that. A
Yes.
faucet in the kitchen, and it has one of those bent arms that you pull down and you can
Yep.
spray and clean your sink and all that sort of stuff. And one day it's leaking like crazy and it's going down the faucet into the floor below. It's wet as heck, and oh my God, it's broken. I
Right.
don't know how it worked. So I
Right.
call the company, and the company says, "Oh, okay, it must be broken. I'm going to send you some parts. You can replace the parts. I'm not a plumber." So
Right.
they send me a box of parts, probably $100 worth of parts. I open the box, and the first thing I see is the spray wand. So I
Yeah.
go to the existing spray wand, and I noticed that it was loose.
Right.
I tightened it, and all of a sudden the leaking stopped. So by understanding how it worked, I was able to fix it. So by
Right.
understanding how it worked, I was able to make it work.
Right.
And that was the first big aha I had, and that was in the 90s. And then from there, once I understood that, then it was a matter of understanding, well, what do I need to do? What are the activities then that I need to focus on that are going to create the results?
And what were the activities that you started to what did you see, like using that analogy, that's great, but then bridge that gap for me. What did you see that you were missing in the 12 other companies? Because first of all, you didn't quit, which I love. Second of all, I hear the guy that came out from the beads, right? You were a success on accident because you're like, I must have said something right.
Yeah.
Right. Which I love because that's what I do. It's like, oh, that worked. Let me do it again. Oh, that worked. Let me do it again. Oh, that worked. Because you can have theory all day long, but practical is what's going to make it. And that's what you're talking about. What was the biggest thing you saw that was missing from the 12 that now you implemented?
I stopped selling what I had and started finding out what other people needed and wanted.
Ah, juicy.
So instead of selling my products to people saying, "Hey, this is, Herbalife," or whatever the company was, then I realized that I needed to make $8,000. That was my cost of living at that time.
Right.
So I needed to find something that would allow that to happen. I had to understand what I had to do. And
Yes.
then once I started understanding, the structure and how it worked and all those good things, then I realized that, okay, I got to go back and tell you another story.
Yeah.
So earlier on, I was in the oil and gas industry.
Yes.
And it was a telemarketing operation. It was in the United States, it was a federal government land lease on Bureau of Land Management oil lease program. So that every month or every 2 months, they had an auction and they would auction off the oil and gas rights of government land. And if you got the lottery, then you could take that to an oil company and they would develop it and pay you. Well, the company I worked with had tons of clients, made millions of dollars in this process. And this was a neat gig for me to do. And so I started to work in that area. Now, here's how it worked. They gave me a stack of leads that we got from Dun and Bradstreet. They were cards with names and numbers and positions, no other details. And my job was to call those people and eventually get a client. Well,
Yes.
I would dial 100 dials a day. I maybe talk to 20 secretaries, get through to maybe 4 or 5 people, and then send out a couple of brochures to be followed up a week later. And if I did that every day for a week, I could make a sale a week. Now, here was the aha there was the difference between a qualified individual and a non-qualified individual.
Yes.
And what I realized was that rejection comes about only from non-qualified people.
Yes.
So once I saw that, instead of going after every Tom, Dick, and Harry, I have to find out if you're qualified in the first place.
Yes.
And so if and this was really kind of interesting. So what would be the qualifications? Well, in our business, what do? We do three things really. We talk and we
Yeah.
communicate, but we look for customers and we look for other distributors, and that's basically it.
Yes.
So from the standpoint of a customer, what does a customer need and want? Well, based on the products that you market, they may need them, they may not need them. What's your competition? What's out there? All of those kind of things. So uniqueness was a big part of that. But from the business standpoint, what I saw was this. The business person had a different view of participation,
Yes.
both from consumption of the product for two ways, one for themselves and the other was to help build their business. So they became more prolific in their activity than just a customer did. And their intention was to do this so they could put food on the table like me. So then if I found somebody like me, not necessarily my ability, my skills, but who had the same needs,
Drive. Yeah.
it's kind of like the dating game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost identical to you find the right person and everything is like great.
Yes.
You don't find the right person, and you get slapped in the face, and all kinds of things can happen, and you don't get the result that you're trying to get. So that was the second aha.
That was a
Was
big aha. So I just want to say that again because rejection comes from every non-qualified lead.
yeah,
That's powerful because I always distinguish don't get leads, get qualified leads. But really looking back, there's so much truth in that statement, just looking at my 30 years of getting no's, right? And to go
sure.
next, next, next. But it allows you the freedom to go, oh, they're just not qualified, right?
Yeah.
To
Now,
handle.
my favorite question was, Susie, was, would you be interested in making an extra 5, 10, or $15,000 a month?
Yes.
Now, if they didn't answer that instantaneously, that
Yes.
told me they weren't.
Yes.
If they said yes, then that was the
Yes.
person I wanted to talk to. And
Right.
what happened when that happened, it was like magic because you'd collaborate, you'd communicate, you'd think, you'd strategize, you'd do all those neat things. And the power of two is greater than the power of one.
Yes.
And the way network marketing works, it's the key. There's more success in network marketing. And what I found also in later times, but most people don't understand how it works. They don't understand the benefit of structure. And we
Right.
have the only platform, excuse me, with a unique structure that allows for the incredible growth that can happen with it.
I love it. And you built 30,000 distributors. That's no small feat, right? What leadership did you use? You talked a little bit about it right now, right? Do you credit to fostering such a large engage? Because it's easy to get them.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep them. I was in network marketing when I first started, in sales. It taught me a lot. I learned so much, right? And it was so easy to get them, and it was really hard to keep them.
Okay. So here's the next aha.
Yes.
Most people who do network marketing are usually brought in by people that don't know how to do network marketing. There
Mhm.
is no education process.
Right.
It's like, go make a mess. Go talk to everybody you know. Try and get them on the product, all this sort of stuff. And of course, in that attempt, they fail or usually fall on their face or don't get results. But the message is this: when you recruit somebody, all right, you're excited, you got your product, you got your list. Okay, call me if you need any help.
Yes.
No, it's not how it works.
Right.
How it works is okay, so let's say that you're the person that I recruit, Susie, and I say, okay, so let me ask you this. What do you want as a result of doing this? And you tell me, well, I want $10,000
Financial
a month.
freedom. Yeah. Financial freedom, security, residual income, all the things. Yes.
Okay, so let me draw you a picture of what that looks like in our business.
Yes.
Then
Perfect.
let's create a map that you can follow to start today to get to that goal. And then let me give you the activities. And here's the deal. I'm going to help you
Yes.
build this business.
Yes.
So that next aha was what I was taught in the early 90s of how the structure in business works by building depth in an organization and helping other people become successful first.
Yes.
So my success came about by developing other people. Their success propelled me up the ladder. Without their success, I wouldn't have moved an inch.
Right.
So rather than waiting for somebody to come and say, well, Dave, I need help, I do meetings in stadiums and there'd be 8, 10, 12,000 people in a stadium. And at the end of my presentation, I'd give my phone number. If you ever need my help, give me a call. And, I was surprised I didn't get any calls.
Right.
And then I thought, well, why? Heck, I'm really successful. I got everything, blah, blah, blah. I want to help. I love to help. All of these. But here's what I realized. They didn't know what to ask
Mm.
because they weren't schooled enough to ask the right questions. And therefore, they thought, oh, he's too busy. He's not sincere. He
Right.
doesn't really mean it. This is all showmanship, all that kind of stuff. And so what I realized there was then here's the real problem with network marketing. It's kind of like this. In school, what were you taught about credit?
We weren't taught anything about credit.
Nothing. What were you talking about bank accounts?
Nothing.
Nothing. What were you talking about marketing or direct sales?
Nothing.
Exactly. So,
Right.
so you got the blind leading the blind for most
Yeah.
cases, and every once in a while, the strong move up to the top, and then they command a bunch of people, and it was a personality-driven business.
Yes.
So if the personality didn't match what was on stage, then that was you kind of felt, well, that's not me. I can't do this. This is not about me. I can't do what they do, and all that sort of stuff. Follow where I'm going on that.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
was the style and technique that needed to be developed by the individual that was doing it. And that could only come about if you knew what to do.
Right.
And so therefore I think, bottom line here with that is I think that this is the best kept secret today still, where people could make small fortunes. All they have to know is understand how it works.
Right. I always say to our students, right, I'm a Xerox machine. Just just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can follow it, right? Don't give me theory, like what are the steps, right? And then I can just follow it, right? Success does leave clues. And I love that you broke that down. That says huge, that 30,000 distributors. So your no nonsense approach is very well known, right? Looking at all your other YouTube videos, all your interviews. Can you share what it really looks like when you're leading people to drive results?
Okay, so the key question comes back down to, what do you want?
Yes.
What's the roadmap? It'd be no different than you're building a house or you're
Yep.
taking a vacation. You've got a step-by-step approach. So I always like to go to the end and then work it backwards and then break it down. So, and then from the standpoint of the next aha, and this will answer your question, was what are you producing with all your busy work?
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired of pouring resources into strategies that don't work? Say hello to Dr. Susie Carter, your future fractional COO. With Dr. Susie in your corner, your business can skyrocket to 7 figures and beyond. With a track record of creating thriving businesses, trust that you are in good hands. Head over to coo.poweryourprofits.com and let us put some magic into your business growth. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carter. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today.
So in other words, most people go out and do network marketing and they sell some product and they talk to people and they don't really have a defined product that gives them what they want. So I'll give you an analogy here. So let's say you're in the business of making coffee tables.
Yep.
And so everybody in your business, all employees, secretaries, workmen, manufacturers, they're all concerned with your ability to build a coffee table. And the end product that you're producing are coffee tables. So if you produce a good coffee table, then you can exchange that product for what you want. And then most cases, that's the money. And then the money you use to get the goods and services that you want to get. Well, in the sense of network marketing, then what needs to be understood is what is the product that you're trying to produce? And here's where I saw the biggest hole there ever was, and that was the successful distributor. So people would bring on a distributor, but not ensure success with that distributor. Well, how do you do that? Well, help them, educate them, train them, work with them, work together with them, because the strength of two. So it's the old riddle of, okay, 1 and 1 equals 2. Then those 2 can go get 2 more, that's 4. And those 4 can go get 4 more, and that's 8. And that's how I got to the 30,000 in my organization, because I had strong leadership and we just built it together on leg by leg by leg by leg by leg.
Right.
And then the next part of it takes over. So it was the first book that I wrote called Vested Interest.
Yep.
And the whole concept of vested interest was the personal interest in the state of affairs with the understanding of gain. So in network marketing, there's a hook.
Yep.
And that hook is you have to qualify to get paid.
Yes.
Now, the hook in corporate America or business America or whatever you want to call it is you put in time and you sell a product, or you make you get a salary or you get a contract or whatever, but you still have to do the work before you get paid.
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's just defined slightly differently. So what qualifying really means is building your business, selling your product, recruiting distributors, creating volume. Same kind of a concept. And when you do that, you get this exchange of the income. Now, if I again brought you into my business and I got you're making $5,000 a month and you're happy as a lark and you've got a good organization, are you going to go anywhere else?
No.
No.
No, loyalty is right there.
So that's the key, is to get you to that level. If I don't get you to that level, then I'm not successful.
Right.
Now, people say, well, it's not everybody can do this and so on and so forth. Well, balderdash. Everybody can do this. Anybody can do this. You just have to learn what you do best within the structure and the framework of what you're represented with. And you got to join the right company.
Right.
And it's got to be something that makes sense, and it can't be some pie in the sky deal, and you got to stay away from all that garbage and stuff. But there are real legitimate household names that have come from network marketing.
Yes.
And of course, the biggest lesson, that was the first one, was, okay, you got to put yourself between the manufacturer and the distributor, the
Yes.
consumer. And that's Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
All Jeff did. He got the manufacturer, he got the customer, and he figured out, wow, why don't I create an interesting platform to culminate the sales here?
Right.
So that's all I've done. So I never considered myself a network marketer. I always said I'm in the distribution business.
Now,
And I
are you
still am.
still doing this on a daily basis? Are
Yeah.
you still, yeah?
I don't do it like I used to do it because I'm spending my time a little bit older.
We're
And
seasoned, Dave. We're seasoned. That's
yeah,
all.
season. And my real love is helping other people, because I
Right.
want to teach people what I learned, because the benefits I got, unbelievable. I mean,
Right.
just, I'm not a billionaire, but I didn't need to be a billionaire. I lived my life to the max, the fullest, and God, it was just great. Anyway,
Well, and still, right? So you're
yeah,
still living. I
of
love that.
course.
And how do you balance, right, that mission driven, staying authentic, driving sales and scaling your business? How do you balance all that inside of, creating a significant global impact?
Well, that was an interesting thing. And if I could look back at the peak and the busiest time, I was having so much fun. And again, what's really interesting about this style of business is the lack of tethers.
Hmm.
In other words, if you have brick and mortar, you've got buildings, you've got utilities, you've got taxes, all of those things. In our business, those buildings don't have those things, because they are individuals and they're all over the world. So I had people all over the world that were doing this business, and because of their vested interest in their success, I could be off in Hawaii while they're doing meetings all over the country. And of
Right.
course, the benefit was, by helping them become successful, then I got that time off. To get there, I had to do the work. So two more very fundamental aspects of understanding here. Phase one is you do the work so you understand everything. And then phase two is you get others to do the work. So in phase two, I had a team, I had successful people, I had motivated individuals, and we would communicate on a regular basis. We'd travel the world together, we'd be, on a regular basis, but I didn't need to talk to them necessarily every day. So therefore, the balance was, I was able to live my life, do what I wanted to do, manage the business, travel the world, enjoy, watch my kids grow up, go to school every day, all of those wonderful things that everybody wants to do. Um, but I had to get there first. I had to do the work. And
Yeah.
I did the work. And now, from the time I first found out about till the time I had success, was about 15 years. But from the time I really got going, and it was 5 years.
Right.
So now what I can do with somebody is, I can take you today and I can have you very successful in, a couple of years.
Right. If you're doing the work, right?
But that's the, I have to laugh here, because that's it. Do the work.
Right. I always laugh at my students. They're like, it's not working because you're not working. You have
Yeah.
to do something. It's not sprinkle fairy dust. You don't just come to a meeting. You just don't come to a training. You've
Yeah.
got to implement that, right? I love that you keep reiterating that. Dave, what's one of the biggest thing you're most proud of? I know you've accomplished a ton. What would you say? And it could be with work. It could be that work allowed you to do this thing, whatever that thing is.
I was able to live my life without causing any problems.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I
Were
didn't
you a
go to
troublemaker in school,
jail. I
Dave?
wasn't a tax burden to I wasn't I didn't ruffle any feathers too much. I
Right.
just, I had a great life so far, and I continue to have one. I'm going to have one for much longer. So, I was, to touch wood, I was a pretty lucky guy.
So as an entrepreneur, what advice do you have for us that we might not know that we don't even know? That's the foundation of Dave and your success.
Okay, so I did a little homework because I knew this question might come up, and the definition of entrepreneurship is this: it's the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the key operative words there are business and businesses. So
Yes.
then if we look at a business as a definition, a person's regular occupation, profession, or trade. So one of the things that I'll tell you another story. When I was a young lad, I played Little League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the uniform and I'd go down to the place where you play ball. And I was a tall, lanky kid. And I'd stand at the batter's box and that ball would come by me at, 70, 80 miles an hour. And it was like, I couldn't take that. I didn't have the aptitude to play baseball, but I played with a guy. His name was Butch Goring. And Butch Goring ended up in Major League Baseball, became a famous Major League Baseball player. He had the aptitude. And
Yeah.
his aptitude was he was into it. In other words, he was focused, he was into it, he thought about it, he talked about it, read books about it. I'm sure he did everything he could. So when I became a professional in this industry, I wanted to know everything I could know to be a professional because I didn't want to seem stupid if somebody asked me a question that I couldn't answer. So the biggest advice is really understand what you want and then find the avenue or the area that you have the aptitude towards and understand what has to be done there to make that work, figure out the activities, then go to work. But have a mentor.
Yes.
Have a mentor, have a coach, have somebody that you can, hey, Dave. So that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about at the end is the first thing we've got to do is communicate.
Yep.
And again, I might be able to give you help. I might not be able to give you help. I might be able to show you a way with me, or I might be able to show you a way with you. So it all is going to start with fundamentals of communicating and understanding what it is that you want, where you want to go, and what is available to you. Right? You want to go to Mars? Okay, well, that's Musk. Call
Right.
Elon and go talk to him about Mars because that path's pretty much been taken care of. So you really want to understand where can you find a niche?
Right. So Dave, what's one question you wish I would have asked you?
Oh, I don't know. I think you asked all the right questions.
Well, that's
Again, the
good.
reason why I do because you're the pro. See, this is your business.
Yeah.
And you've interviewed enough people to understand what questions are going to resonate best with your audience,
Yes.
what they need, what they want, and what's going to cause them to react and get involved or move to the next level.
Well, what I love is you can hear in your authenticity that you really are walking your talk, right? And as we wrap today, it's clear that Dave's journey in network marketing is nothing short of remarkable, impressive, right? From building one of the largest organizations in the industry and helping thousands achieve financial success, his leadership and no nonsense approach has left an indelible mark inside of our industry. Right. What I love is that you're still going, you're still doing it, you're still sharing valuable insights, right, with your wisdom. This has been such a juicy conversation for me today, very inspiring
Oh,
to,
good, Susie.
and remember, success just isn't hard work. It's about being smart, intentional, having that plan, going towards your dreams, and knowing that you can't do it alone. Right. We
Absolutely.
say that you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. So keep pushing those boundaries. And listen, reach out to Dave. We do have a gift, which is playing the game 10 lessons to fuel your success. That will be in the show notes with Dave. It's besmarterwithdave.com, which I love. And if you need support, reach out. And I know somebody needs to hear this message. So please share it in your social. Somebody needs Dave. Somebody needs that bit of inspiration to go, if he can do it, I can do it. I'm always an advocate. If I can see it, touch it, feel it, I know somebody that's done 1 billion. I know somebody that's managed 30,000 people, then I can do it. Any final thoughts, Dave?
No, with the way society is going today, everything's moving at lightning speed, but there's still some fundamentals that are never going to change.
Yes.
And what we really have to keep our eye on is those aspects and how can we take advantage of being in that stream versus flying off to some other land that is unproven or untried. Because, it's the old steady pace, this tortoise and the snake, the tortoise and the
Yes.
hare race, and who's going to get to the end. And it's not about who's going to get to the end. It's how do you get to where you want to get to.
Yes. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your generosity of time.
All right. Thanks a lot, Susie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.